All right, the Pacific Disaster Center also monitoring severe weather effects statewide, not just in this case, but for years, decades now. We've been joined live by phone with Dr. Erin Hughey. She's the Director of Disaster Services. Thanks again for joining us. We appreciate the updates.
Good morning.
Good morning. Tell us what's going on right now. I know we talked to you in the past hour. What's going on as we approach the 7 o'clock hour?
As we approach the 7 o'clock hour, our teams are happy for daylight. We're glad to be able to have our partners get out and begin those damage and needs assessments in the areas that are safe. And we're preparing to support the mapping and visualization of the damages as they come in so that our officials can make some solid decisions on making sure we get resources to the right areas.
Can you elaborate on, you said the areas that are deemed safe. Do you know any of those areas yet?
Well, for each island, you need to listen to your local emergency management official. They'll let you know when it's safe to move about or to get around. So we're going to leave that to the emergency managers to make that call. But we do know as the storm passes and daylight is finally upon us, we will have some damage and needs assessment teams coming from the Emergency Management Office. We've got Hawaii National Guard and other agencies that will be, Red Cross will be doing surveys. PDC works with all of them to map that information and visualize it so that they have a good understanding of the potential or of the impacts.
So let's talk about the areas that you expect are going to need to be looked at. I mean, of course, we're on islands and we're surrounded by water, and we have mountains and cliffsides that are eroding. I would imagine there are certain areas that you guys are expecting to be focused on.
Yeah, for each island, there is a hazard profile that the emergency managers and the communities are familiar with. So typically when you get rain, we know the areas that flood, we know the areas where we can expect some landslides or mudslides. So for each island, we're definitely paying attention to the east side of the islands where the storm was approaching. But we won't know the details really until somebody is able to get out there and do the visual inspection. We are lucky enough to have resources, and there's been a plan in place for several days now, and that's been practiced actually over the last several months and years to prepare for an event like this, to mobilize resources, use helicopters on islands to get a visualization, as well as the teams that are able to get on the ground.
I know that's one of the biggest concerns that a lot of people are hearing about is the landslides and the mudslides, because we haven't seen weather like this in quite some time here in Hawaii. Do you have any insight? Can you add anything to that before, actually, I know your crews are just now starting to head out, but do you know anything else that you can give us right now?
We don't have any information on that for you right now. If we do, we're happy to get back to you. But like I said, we're all happy that it's daylight, and we're waiting to see, but everybody is prepared, and yeah, we're prepared and ready to map those for our partners.
I think one thing that we can't emphasize enough, this reminds me of the aftermath of the tsunami that hit us back in 2011 and how we were covering it all throughout the night, and there didn't seem to be much damage. The threat seemed to be going down. It wasn't until hours later, till late morning, early afternoon, before we started to realize some of the pockets, the bays, the harbors, certain hillsides and whatnot that had been affected after several hours had gone by. What do we want to emphasize here at this point in time as the day progresses? Why people really, I would imagine, still need to keep their guard up for a while?
Yeah, like I said, listen to your local emergency management officials, and do know that the damage assessments take time. You're going to have officials and teams trying to make it to areas that are impacted. It may take a little bit of time, but I want everybody to know that your emergency management officials have been working through the week to prepare for this, and they are ready to make sure that we have assistance in the areas that need it.
All right, Dr. Erin Hughey joining us live this morning with an update on exactly what's going on at the Maui Pacific Disaster Center.